practice today presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen live here in Florham Park on a Friday. You might be wondering why EA and I
certainly would be.
Well, here's the answer. The Jets are wearing special camouflage jerseys for Salute to Service Week. At the end of the week, they will be auctioned off. They will be signed by the players and auctioned. If you want to bid on them, go to nflauction.nfl.com. You can check out more information on NewYorkJets.com.
Greens.
You like these jerseys. I know you're upset about putting on the jersey, but you were telling me all week how much you like the jerseys.
No, I think actually darker colors are better for me, so the green is a better look. And the other thing I wanted to ask you here, Greens, is will we sign our jerseys, and will they be auctioned off?
No, they won't. Those probably wouldn't be going for very much, though.
Well, come on, Greens. You were born in Manhattan. I know you got a few fans out there.
Well, man, you've been here a little longer than I have.
A couple years.
All right, so the Jets and Bills.
By the way, hold on. I want to stay with the practice jerseys just for a second. The white with the camo numbers, unbelievable.
Yeah,
I think we should get in people's ears around here and say, that should be the new jersey.
The white jersey, is pretty clean.
Yes.
It's a fresh look.
Oh, yeah.
But the Jets will not be wearing these jerseys Sunday. This is only a special practice jersey. And let's move to football here. It's Jets-Bills Sunday, 1 o'clock in Week 10 at MetLife Stadium. Josh McCown's going to be starting under center. We'll see later on today if Sam Darnold will maybe practice, maybe not. Head coach Todd Bowles is going to come out with the injury report this afternoon. But for the Jets, what can you expect out of this offense with Josh McCown, who really hasn't had a lot of reps since training camp in the preseason, and not to mention the regular season?
Well, that's a great point, Greens, because Josh McCown hasn't started a game since December last year when he broke that left hand against the Denver Broncos. But when McCown did play in 2017, he was efficient. He was excellent at times, completing 67% of his passes. He counted for 23 touchdowns if you include those 5 rush touchdowns on the ground. He passed for nearly 3,000 yards in those 13 starts. What McCown brings to you, Greens, is a guy who is like a coach on the field. He knows this offense so well. He's worked with Jeremy Bates on multiple occasions going back to Chicago. Obviously, the two experienced success together here last year with the Jets. And McCown, for a 39-year-old guy, it's like he's your age, Greens. He's a youngster, and he brings that energy to the table. And you sense that on the practice field this week because, Greens, you were the first guy out at practice every day, and McCown was leading the troops. You could hear him loud and clear, and he's embracing this opportunity. So good for him. On the one end of the spectrum, you're disappointed because Sam Darnold will have to sit this one out in terms of definitely not getting the start. We'll have to see if he's active. But for McCown, you feel good for this guy because he's one of the most well-liked people inside the organization. And, oh, yeah, he still can play some pretty good football.
Last year, definitely the Jets ended up 5-11, but this offense had moments when it shined. And Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse both had career highs with Josh McCown under center. Anderson had 63 receptions, 941 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Jermaine Kearse, 65 receptions, 810 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And just on McCown himself, he put up career years with those guys, but one guy he didn't throw to was Quincy Enunwa.
Yeah, and I asked McCown about Enunwa this week. He said he reminded him of another 81 he played with, another Q, and that's Anquan Bolden. That's a hell of a compliment. And he said, we have to find ways to get this guy the football. Last week, Enunwa had 3 receptions for 40 yards against the Miami Dolphins. But you're right, Greens. In 2017, Robbie Anderson would have been a 1,000-yard receiver had not McCown went down in Denver. Also, Jermaine Kearse got here 9 days before the start of the regular season after that trade with the Seattle Seahawks. He came in and had a career year himself, and that just speaks to McCown and his comfortability with getting different people involved in the offense. And I'm very interested to see how he plays with Enunwa because, like you mentioned, Enunwa obviously out last year with the neck injury.
And Josh McCown played with Eli McGuire last year as a rookie. He played with Isaiah Crowell when they were both part of the Browns. But this Jets receiving core, yes, it has Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse. We'll have to see what's up with Anderson because he has not practiced this week with an ankle injury.
Yeah, it's taken a similar script from last week, right? Because Anderson and Anunwa did not practice Wednesday and Thursday last week, and then they practiced on a limited basis on Friday. They were both DNPs again Wednesday and Thursday this week.
Again, head coach Todd Bowles will have the final injury report in the afternoon. And let's just touch on Sam Darnold for a moment here, because a couple days ago, head coach Todd Bowles said that Darnold could be the team's number 2 quarterback if he's able to move along with his injury, a strained right foot. But if not Darnold, and Darnold's inactive, then Davis Webb's going to probably get called up on Saturday.
Yeah, Davis Webb, the Jets picked him up, I believe, a waiver claim, right? Because the Giants released him, or they outright cut him in the summer, and then he comes over here, and he's been working with this team in terms of getting those practice squad reps. So when you're on the practice squad, what Davis Webb has probably been doing a lot this year is giving you looks as far as what the opposing team does every week out there. But the Jets would likely make that move either Friday or Saturday, bringing him up. But Todd Bowles, a lot of people were asking about this. Why is Bowles just not ruling Darnold out? Well, first off, you need your number 1 quarterback during the week to get those, get the majority of the reps. And that's what the Jets have given Josh McCown. With that being said, you still want Sam Darnold out there on the field if he is able to make progress during the week with the foot. We saw him throughout the week here in Florham Park with the boot on the right foot. But maybe he's made progress from Wednesday to Friday or Wednesday to Saturday, and you want him on the field. But he could be a game day inactive for the first time in his career. And then Davis Webb has been with this team soaking up the knowledge for a while now, and he would be the 2.
Regardless what happens with Sam Darnold and Davis Webb, Josh McCown is the guy starting under center. And you could tell by earlier this week, all the guys in the locker room, from Jermaine Kearse, head coach Todd Bowles, Jeremy Bates, talked about Josh McCown. This is what they had to say about the veteran.
Josh has experienced everything. He's been with a lot of teams, and so he's there to, let them know what, this is the NFL season. It's it's 16 games, 16 weeks of games, and you can't have too many highs and too many lows. You just got to move on to the next game. So I think he's gonna be fine, and I think Josh helps him.
Josh is 40. You don't get to be in this league 40 years old and not be a professional. So we understand, he understands where he is, and he's 40, but he has a 20-year-old mindset, and he's very energetic, and he's very studious, so we expect him to play well if he plays.
There's a lot of things I can learn from a guy like Josh if he gets to start. So, just going to go out there and, obviously I'd like to play, but if I'm not playing, I'll learn a lot from him. He's a great player, and go about it that way.
As you can tell, Josh McCown very much respected within the New York Jets locker room. Okay, it is time for In the Game with EA here on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. EA, you ready?
Aren't I on a 2-game streak here?
Yes, you're on a streak.
I'm streaking into November.
He's hitting up. He's heating up. You ready?
I'm very nervous about this one because I didn't really look deeply at the release.
All right, I think you'll be good. It's a Jets-related question. All the answers are Jets, both current and former.
Okay.
I might have just given something away, but since 2000, Jets kickers have combined for 9 field goals of at least 55 yards. Name the kickers. I'll give you a clue. There are only 4. And EA will respond with his answer a little later on in the show. If you want to respond with your answer, please be sure to comment, but let's move on here before we return to In the Game with EA. These two teams, the Jets and Bills, they're squaring off Week 10, Sunday, 1 p.m. MetLife Stadium. But these two teams, from a macro perspective, are in a similar situation. The state of the franchises are similar. They both have what they believe to be their quarterbacks of the future. They have a lot of money to spend in the offseason, and they both have very solid defenses.
I think you might stump me here on this question in the game, but I will say, yeah, you're right about that. When I look at the Jets and the Bills right now, very similar situations, a lot of parallels. The Jets move up in the draft to get Sam Darnold with that number 3 overall selection. The Bills, who I think entered draft weekend with the 12th overall selection, they moved up to get to number 7 and take Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen. So both teams, wanted to get their guys, and they have them inside their buildings right now. Both have started some games for the respective teams this year. Obviously, Darnold's going to miss his first game of 2018. We'll have to see what happens with Josh Allen. He's been practicing on a limited basis, but with that elbow injury, he's missed the last 3 games, I believe.
And we're going to dive into the Bills' offense a little later on in the show.
Right. And the other thing is, long term, a lot of money under the salary cap to develop pieces around each of these respective quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Sam Darnold. Here's your stat right there. Close to $100 million for the Bills, and then the Jets go into the offseason in April with more than $100 million. And Mike McCown said when he stood pat at the trade deadline that one of the reasons is you got to look forward at the financial flexibility we have in the spring. So I think both these teams will want to add some big pieces around their quarterbacks. The Bills got to clear up more holes offensively. And then conversely, I think both teams have very good defenses, Green. So you look at the numbers throughout the 2018 season, I think both these teams have pieces and pillars defensively where you can say they're in the top half of the National Football League. Both of them defensively, where they got to get better is offensively.
On the defensive side of the ball, real quick, on the Jets, you obviously think of Leonard Williams, Darren Lee, Jamal Adams, Marcus May, the list goes on and on. But for the Bills, you think of Tre'Davious White, the first-round pick from last year. You think of Tremaine Edmonds, the first-round pick from this year. The Bills.
He's 19 years old?
He's 19. At the time he was drafted. He leads the team in tackles and pass defenses. He's going through concussion protocol. So
I think he got cleared this week.
All right, there you go.
He'll probably be in the lineup because if he wasn't starting, you know who would be starting for the Bills there? Julian Stanford.
Yeah, former New York Jet.
Former New York Jet. And he's a guy who very good against the run, but I think the Jets would have been able to take advantage of him in pass coverage. But the rookie you just mentioned, very athletic, like 6'5", 6'6", can run like the wind. Also up front, the Bills are very good. Across the board, and they're another team that has solid safeties. I don't know if their safeties are just as good as Jamal Adams and Marcus May, but Poyer, Micah Hyde, that's a good combination.
And not to mention that the Bills have a pair of pass rushers, both with 4.5 sacks, Lorenzo Alexander, who's ageless, and then Jerry Hughes as well.
Yeah, right. Alexander's like 35, 36. He's playing like he's 22.
Regardless, let's switch sides of the ball here because we don't know who's starting under center for the Bills. And I know back in April, a lot of pundits thought that this game, Week 10's matchup, was going to be the future of the AFC East or the start of the future with Sam Darnold and Josh Allen potentially going toe-to-toe. That's not the case, at least for the green and white, because Sam Darnold, at the very best, will be a backup to Josh McCown. But for the Bills, you mentioned Josh Allen practicing on a limited basis. Derek Anderson still in concussion protocol. Yeah. Nathan Peterman's an option. Matt Barkley's an option. But regardless, who starts under center for the Bills this season or who has started, this offense has been very, very anemic, as you'd like to say.
I would say so, Greens. I mean, the numbers are staggering. They're on pace for a franchise low in terms of points. They're averaging less than 7 points a game. That is hard to do in the National Football League. And I know a lot of teams go through different struggles, but they can't hang their hat on anything right now because I think their offensive line has a lot of holes. The wide receivers, Todd Bowles talked about the size at the wide receiver position. They got Kelvin Benjamin, of course, former Jet Terrell Pryor now, and Zay Jones. Shady McCoy is having a career worst season in terms of yards on the ground. You got Chris Ivory there, who's actually been pretty productive when you look at them offensively. And then so many growing pains at the quarterback position for the Bills because Allen has showed some signs because he's got that tremendous athletic ability. And Todd Bowles yesterday compared his arm strength to a young Randall Cunningham or John Elway, and that's how that kid can spin it. And he's also a threat to get outside and break the perimeter. But Nathan Peterman's been an interception machine since entering the National Football League.
Josh Allen has 3 rushing touchdowns. The Bills have 8 total touchdowns of the year. I mean, these numbers are historically bad, and in the league, they really are the bottom of the barrel. You saw the numbers before But this says it all right here. Total points, 96. All these stats on your screen are 32nd in the NFL. Point differential, minus 145. I mentioned the 8 total touchdowns, only averaging 4 yards per play, 22 giveaways, and 4 defensive touchdowns allowed, all in 9 games.
It's staggering. I don't even know what to say. I would just follow this up by saying the Bills quarterbacks this year have 3 touchdown passes, 16 interceptions.
The numbers are staggering. And when you look at their numbers individually, I mean, Nathan Peterman, 54.3% completion, 1-7 touchdown to interception ratio. Derek Anderson, 60%, 0-4. Josh Allen, 54%, 2 touchdowns, 5 picks. However, like you said, Josh Allen, an athletic threat more so than those other guys.
Yeah, I think Allen's going to be a good player in this league. And we talked to a lot of people at various stops in the pre-draft process, and a lot of people were high on Josh Allen. I think he is going to be a good player, but long-term, the Bills have to totally revamp that offense around him. But in terms of the Jets' defense, they really have an opportunity to get after this offense. They'll be excited to be at home. This is a Jets team that's on a 3-game slide. But that defense played very well in Miami last week against another offense that has a lot of holes in it right now in the Miami Dolphins. Backup quarterback and Brock Osweiler. They were held to less than 200 yards overall. And Miami was 3 of 16 on 3rd down. The Jets right now defensively, 2nd in the National Football League in terms of getting off the field on 3rd down. I think this sets up for a big game from this defense.
And the Buffalo Bills only convert on 28% of their 3rd down attempts. That's for 31st in the NFL. But Jamal Adams is not taking this game lightly. Neither is Buster Skrine. Buster Skrine told me that the Jets defense has to prepare like they're facing Tom Brady, just because you can't overlook anybody in the NFL. And Casey Rogers spoke about what kind of threats this Bills defense, or excuse me, this Bills offense poses with LaShawn McCoy and a pair of wide receivers who are extremely, extremely tall.
Well, when you look at him, the thing that scares you really from is Shady McCoy, of course, and then Benjamin with his size and stature. That's some you look at that can pose a problem. So those 2 guys are really dangerous. Then you add in Zay Jones and Terrell Pryor with their size and length, and Chris Ivory come running downhill if he plays, so they have some weapons.
If it's Nate Peterman under center, is this something where, I know you guys have been in a little bit of a turnover drought, but are you going into this one telling your guys who you might have a chance to pick some passes off?
No, not really. We go into every game trying to get the turnovers. That's just something we try to hark on a lot, and we just got to work at getting them.
All right, that was Jets defensive coordinator Casey Rogers talking about the Bills offense. He mentioned LaShawn McCoy really quickly. LaShawn McCoy's fallen off here this year. 85 attempts, 267 yards. You're used to Shady being Shady. He's only averaging 3.1 yards a carry.
He's still Shady, though.
He is still Shady. He's over 30, but he's still the same player.
He is a threat. You know where he's the biggest threat for that Bills offense, and what the Jets defense has to be very aware of this week? Of him out of the backfield as a receiver. Because that's where he's been more effective.
He's 2nd on the team with 23 receptions. But right now it is time for the results of In the Game with EA. Again, the question was, since 2000, Jets kickers have made 9 field goals of at least 55 yards. Name the kickers.
All right, so I've been here since 2001, and my memory's getting bad. But we got to start present day and then work our way back. So I would say, obviously, I'm going to start with the guy who just kicked a 55-yarder in South Florida last Sunday. My memory is that sharp that I can get that one. So I'll go Jason Myers.
Jason Myers is correct. We got one of them.
Okay. Then I'm going to go back not too far. Actually, the kicker before Jason Myers was a cap man, Chandler Catanzaro.
That is 2. He hit a 57-yarder in Cleveland as halftime occurred.
Okay. Then somebody hit a franchise long in Denver, and the name is just, why is the name escaping me right now? But let me go back a little bit. Let me go Jay Feely, because he had a really good short tenure here with the Jets. He definitely hit a 55-yarder.
Jay Feely is correct. There's one more kicker. The reason why this is the question is because Jay Feely is the Jets' sideline reporter, or CBS's sideline reporter for this Sunday's matchup.
This guy's sharp. This guy's sharp.
We got one more. I'm very surprised that EA doesn't know this. And I'll give you a clue.
Yeah.
We did a feature on him.
I did a feature.
No. Jets 360 has done a feature on him and his wife.
Oh, man.
He used to kick for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, okay. I don't want any dead silence here as we're on live. I was going to go back to John Hall. But obviously, we got to go to the folk hero.
Okay,
so
there it is, Nick Folk. Those are the four guys: Jason Myers, Chandler Catanzaro, Jay Feely, and Jason Myers.
And Folk's the guy who actually nailed the franchise long in Denver, I believe. Is that right?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. All right. Folk hero. Jets 360 Productions. Check that out. We got that all that's archived.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Yeah, sure.
All right, it's time for the 2-minute drill. Again, Jets Bills.
You're driving. I'm just
1
in the
o'clock.
passenger seat.
Sunday.
I'm buckled up my seatbelt.
MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
All right, if the Jets want to win this game, obviously they have a new quarterback under center, but you have to follow the veteran leader in Josh McCown.
Yeah, Josh McCown's going to be ready to go for the New York Jets. He started 13 games a year ago. He set career highs in terms of completion percentage with 67%. He was also nearly a 3,000-yard passer, and he accounted for 23 touchdowns. He has been the consummate professional or mentor for Sam Darnold here early in the rookie's career. But what you're going to be watching out for this week with McCown getting the start is the tempo and his ability to distribute the football to multiple weapons. McCown knows this offense inside and out. Greens, I anticipate he's going to play very well.
You mentioned the weapons. Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse in 2017 both had career highs with McCown under center. And Eli McGuire came back to the lineup last week. No Bilal Powell for the rest of the year. But between Eli McGuire and Isaiah Crowell, you really have to get the run game going against the good Bills defense.
Greens, it's a good point. And what I would also add to that is that these guys, Isaiah Crowell and Eli McGuire, can help the Jets' pass game. And Jeremy Bates was asked about it this week during his news conference. He said, we have to get them the ball more. And they both are adept pass catchers. So watch out for Crowell and also Eli McGuire. McGuire averaged 4.3 yards a carry against the Miami Dolphins. But both these guys can help you in the pass game. I think they'll be a focus this week.
The Bills' offense on paper struggling, to say the least. But the reality is the game is not played on paper, so the Jets' defense needs to go out there, and if they want to win, don't give the Bills any hope.
Just be suffocating, because on paper, like you said, Greens, this Jets' defense should handle a Buffalo offense that is really trying to find itself right now. The Jets, right now, second in the National Football League in terms of getting off the field on third down. They had 4 sacks last week against the Miami Dolphins, so they were getting pressure on the quarterback. The only thing you want to see from the Jets defensively this week that could help McCown and the offense is a turnover. The Jets haven't had a takeaway the last 3 weeks. They come in bunches. Maybe those bunches start here before the bye week at MetLife Stadium on Sunday.
Jets-Bills, 1 o'clock in the green and white. Salute to service game. You don't want to miss it at MetLife Stadium.
Go get these jerseys.
Exactly. These jerseys, again, if you're just tuning in or came late to the party here, is these jerseys are special camouflage practice jerseys. They'll be auctioned off at the end of the week at nflauction.nfl.com. But that's all we have for practice today. Make sure to watch EA and the return of Anthony Becht as the Jets return home on Pregame Central presented by Pepsi.
And we got a quarterback appearance, too. Chad Pennington will be on Pregame Central.
We have a loaded show Sunday because there's also a special military guest on the show, is there not?
Yes, there is.
You gotta watch it.
And somebody from MGM is also stopping by.
Like I said, it's loaded show Sunday. Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi at, 11 o'clock?
That's right. But for now, I think me and you got to get back into the Play MGM studios.
You're absolutely right about that. That's all we have here on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. We'll see you Sunday.